Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, mother... What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome in. What a glorious day it is outside today. Hopefully you guys were able to get out and soak a little of this up because it's going to be fleeting around here with this particular weather, the sunshine, the blue skies, and the warmer temperatures, because we will give way to what normally happens when we inch up into this nice weather in February. Is on the tail end of it, we're going to have some severe storms. At least that is what is alleged, what is reported. And then we go back to the deep freeze again. But it is good on a Wednesday like today to see the blue sky, to see some windows open. You're rolling around and you got me on, so you can crank that up to a dull roar. I think we're all good with that in mind. Hopefully you are too. And I want to say, unless you're Purdue fans. However, Purdue fans seem to be very reasonable about this right now. And if you watched number 1 Michigan roll up the Boilers at Mackey last night, that's just what was going to occur. Given how good that team is, it is going to take some special circumstances for Michigan to get derailed. Now, I say special circumstances. Somebody comes out, shoots the 3 well. Michigan comes out, doesn't shoot the 3 well. And I'd mentioned, but that one loss, that was at a moment when Dusty May's team was going through a bit of a lack of ball sharing funk, if you will. Now, I think a lot of teams would like to go through a one loss, a 25-1 funk, or a chuck hole, if you will, considering most of the time how they've rolled over teams. But they did have some close games. I think that was a Wisconsin loss, a close against Penn State, had to survive another game. So they've been able to survive, but when they are good, it is hard to find anybody around the nation that is any better because they have a lot of athleticism. They're a couple deep at every position, and they are loaded up and ready to go. And I know that I'm incredibly biased, but they're also well coached. They play well together. And you saw all of that last night because there was zero effect from the paint crew and the Mackey crowd, which was beyond juiced. And they were trying to get in it. They were trying to get in it. And every time, especially once there was a bit of a downhill slide in that first half. But in the second half, Purdue a couple of different times pushed it to like 11. And you thought maybe this is the time. And then Michigan would just end up pushing it back once again to 15 or 16. And so much of that was due to the shooting and the three-point shooting at 57%. When you shoot it at that particular clip, there's not a lot home of the road that's going to be able to get done. But I would argue this, and I bet Matt Painter would agree with this, is that a lot of that table was set because of the work that they did on the glass, or in particular, the work they did on the offensive glass. They had 13 offensive rebounds. Of the 39 rebounds, they ended up, I think, the tail of the tape was out-rebounding Purdue by 8. But I think if you watched that game last night, it felt like it was a hell of a lot more than just 8. But so much of that to build that early advantage, that double-figure lead, so much of that was coming by virtue of the offensive glass. They put up 48. It's pretty consistent. You put up 48 in the first half on the road at Mackey against Purdue. You got to feel pretty good. And, in fact, you still win by 11, and Purdue put up 48 in the second half. They went through some lulls in the second half, but they had established themselves with that lead and with that glass dominance. And then also, by the way, they were knocking down threes. And it seemed like a timely three, a timely make would come right as you thought maybe the Boilermakers were able to get back into it. Braden Smith for Purdue ends up with 20 points. I think we'd all understand. Certainly he would as well. That's not a game he would want to write home about, even with the 20 points. Trey Kaufman-Renn was really good. You know, the one thing, I was talking in the hallway about the Boilermakers a little bit earlier, and the one thing, he has been playing well recently. The one thing, if there is anything good about losing, which I'm not suggesting there is anything at all good about losing, but the one thing that stands out is you saw Trey Kaufman-Renn really get engaged. That was more engaged, even though he's been playing better recently, more engaged. And it's tough not to, considering the circumstances. You're playing number one. It's in your building. You're a senior. You would think you would be incredibly engaged. I mean, how much more do you need, right? I agree. However, at the same time, you saw him probably at the peak of engagement this season. I don't know where that goes from here, because Oscar Clough got wrapped up in foul difficulties, and he wasn't any good last night in 21 minutes of play. And you basically didn't get anything, you know, all the way around from C.J. Cox. You look off the bench, I think, you know, Mayer gave you something, but you know, other than that, you didn't get too much at all. Yeah, Michigan is just right now that good, and this may hold true. Because when they've been playing like they played last night or playing at their peak this season, that's just how they've actually been more dominant than that. And that is just where the Boilermakers move on down the road, and you move on now, assuming regular season obviously is now out of reach with Michigan, but you move on down the road, think about the Big Ten Conference Tournament and hopefully setting yourself up for the best seed possible, and then doing your work in the month of March, which basically is what everybody's waiting for anyway. Everybody but the head coach, Matt Painter, because you realize it's a step-by-step process where you do want to reach goals. There is something to be said when you have a class of seniors that everybody suggests will go down in history as one, if not the greatest of all time. There are certain levels in which you have to hit, and it is a major disappointment no matter what Boilermaker fans think about the Big Ten regular season crown being important or unimportant. It is important to them. When you are a winner, it is important to you. All of these steps are important. Once you're past them, maybe something becomes more important. But if you're a competitor, and especially at that level, all of this, reaching your goals, very important. And that was one that kind of slid out the door last night, too. With the Boilermakers, a 91-80 loser at home. They have now the second of three straight at home. They get IU coming up on Friday night. IU, the first-round winner down in Bloomington back in January. I think it was in January. Hell, I get all these months mixed up now. But anyway, you're going to get round number 2 coming up on Friday night, which is really weird, but that's the way that it is. Friday night for that. IU on the road, Mackey, and a Purdue team. We're going to see what type of response they have. It's one thing, too, because, you know, IU going back to Sunday, they were outclassed on the road at Illinois. I think a lot of people expected that. I don't know how many people expected Purdue to get as outclassed at home as they did last night, but Michigan is that good. We'll see what IU team shows up in West Lafayette coming up on Friday. I would expect the Boilermakers to be focused, given the fact that they lost that initial game, and then certainly because of how they they looked and things went for them last night. Meantime, we can talk a lot of college basketball if you guys like it. 239-1070. Would love to do that. Drop in regarding that game. Butler back in action on the road at Georgetown coming up later on tonight. I got engaged for the first time in the Winter Olympics a little bit earlier today. I was watching Canada and what is it, Czechia? Yeah. And that was a hell of a hockey game. And I mentioned this too. I'm kind of on the fringe of it because the kid likes the Suzuki player that plays for the Canadians, and he's on the Canadian team. That was some good stuff right there. That was some good drama. But I'm going to keep you updated because right now we got a TV that's working in this studio. That is fantastic. We are talking Sweden and USA in quarterfinal round hockey for the men in Milan in the Winter Olympics. Extremely excited about that right now. Make no mistake about that. Oh, I'm right there with you, by the way. Derek White. I need a road show like crazy. I know that we have a lot of road shows coming up once we get into March, but man, it has been MIA, and I am so with you on that. It's funny, I saw Kyrie Irving is not going to come back. Kyrie Irving has been ruled out for the season. I don't know how much more until they take another step, if they do take another step in a potential punishment for the Pacers. But I do kind of find it funny. So this is how you handle tanking, this way. Because I made a joke, if you remember, about, hey, when Tyrese Halliburton is ready, you got to bring the dude back. Obviously, it is much deeper than the Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie Irving's was done in March a year ago. And the middle of June is a lot different. Yeah, in terms of the injury for Halliburton. But it is kind of funny. That part makes you laugh. We were talking to Jake a little bit earlier about Mick Cronin. You know, normally this stuff doesn't bother me. It doesn't in this case. I will say this. You know, asking a coach, and you know how this guy is. I mean, you know that he's kind of a little fire hydrant pipsqueak of a jackass. You just know that he is. But he is a good basketball coach. He is a pipsqueak with a really good basketball mind. And if you follow that team, as I'm assuming that reporter does, you probably know what you're going to get when you ask that question. But Cronin has just been basically off the map the entire year. And it's more than just the question from a reporter. It's more than just a hard/dirty foul where he sends his player to the locker room, basically ejecting his own player. It's more than that. His team sucks. And they shouldn't stink that bad. They should be better than that. And you recognize that, and you're frustrated by that. But that's just who that guy is. It's funny. Somebody said, aren't you glad that everybody that wanted Mick Cronin in Bloomington, you didn't get that? I don't know if you're glad about that. I think that IU fans would have been glad not to have to deal with a great deal of losing so often or mediocrity so often. I don't know if Cronin and that dynamic would have changed anything. But we all know this to be true. You can get away with a lot more in what you say, or it can be justified in what you say, the better that you are in what you do. And in a season like this, you're just not going to be able to get away with that. In the court of national public opinion, you're going to be ridiculed for it. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I do understand this because I understand basketball and love basketball. He can't coach it up. But it's really difficult to put up with both. You put up with one thing, you know, the jackass behavior like that, and then, all right, so it comes along with just a great deal of mediocrity. Oh, wait a minute, you're upset because you got to go east and you're UCLA? Well, I got news for you. When you're LA and you're a part of the Big Ten, when you take on that money, the finances, and that burden, that's just going to be a part of it. And you're going to have to deal with it. So I don't know if last night was more funny than it was anything. I still do think he is a good coach, but it just seems time and time again he's proven to be almost now. It's almost even like jackass coach. Where are you? The Cronin sound I'll play for you if you missed it. I know Jake played it with me just a little bit earlier. It was pretty funny. But you could anticipate it. When that question was lobbed in there, you knew that was coming. You just knew it. Yeah, what do you think about what the fans were saying of the student section? And you knew that was coming. And it did. We got that for you, too. About to get started with the, I guess, second half. It's not really the second half, but after the All-Star break, post-All-Star break, man, I remember it a year ago. That's when things, help me out here. This is what I remember a year ago. I'm going to recollect for a moment on the good old days. I will recollect it was around March the 11th. Was the game on a Tuesday night, because I have vivid memories of this. I was at the balcony bar right across from Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers played on a Tuesday night. And I believe we were treated to a Tyrese Halliburton fadeaway corner three when he was fouled and a 4-point play for the win. And that, to me, was like the kickstart of what we knew last year's Pacers team, what made them great. And it may have happened. Maybe there was more of a signature moment before it. But to me, that was the signature moment. And the closer we get to it, the more we approach it. We're not quite there yet. But the more we approach it, the more I'm going to talk about it. That, to me, was that time in which this Pacer team transitioned into what we ultimately witnessed, and that was a 7-game unfortunate loser in Oklahoma City to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I guess what I'm trying to say in this recollection I'm giving you right here is the simple fact that after the All-Star break, as Howard Jones famously said, things can only get better, and it got better. How do things get better? We're not going to know how things get better, honestly, until Mother's Day. This is going to be the most exciting for people around here NBA draft lottery of all time. I know a lot of you play the lottery every single weekend. Well, I don't know. You play the lottery every night if you want with scratch-offs, but I don't know how many times. I don't think I've honestly played the lottery myself, and I guess I should. But I don't think I've played, got Powerball tickets or anything since it was first activated. I remember I got tickets. I think the Hoosier Lottery started in '89. And I got it at the feed bag at Vincennes University. The feed bag had lottery tickets. And I really haven't done too much because I work hard for the money. Shout out to the late Donna Summer. I work hard for the money. Thus, I don't really easily like to give it away. I feel the same way about betting. Last thing I ever want to care about is losing money, hard-earned money, on whether or not somebody's jump shot goes in, or somebody takes a junk three at the end, or there's a field goal make it or miss it. That would drive me insane if I did that all the time. I know a lot of you guys live with it, and that's cool. I don't mind talking about it. But losing the money, and I think that also magnifies the fact that maybe just if I were to do this, engage it on a night-in, night-out basis, I'm just simply put not very good at it. I try to be. I think there was a point last year during the football season, maybe up until the first week of December, when I was waist deep in the money. I was kicking ass and taking names. And then in the football season, I think December is the absolute most difficult, especially against the number, because normally you have teams that are out of, the numbers are so high. I think that is the most incredibly difficult part of it. And then all of a sudden being in the money or waist deep in it, I was not any longer. But I was good most of the season. But year-round, the one thing that I do is I kind of practice on it, right? I kind of practice, and, hey, if I would have done this tonight, how would that have worked out? And normalcy prevails, it doesn't work out very well. So I watch it. I watch what I do. And that also pertains to the lottery. Yeah, I know, kind of weird. But I know a lot of people out there do that, especially Powerball-wise, every single week, right? A couple of times a week. I think that's how it goes. I don't really know. Will they have Powerball once a week or twice a week? Do you know, James, over there?
I'm not sure. I'm not a gambling man.
Like, I'm a gambling guy, but I got to do it within my own guardrails, if that makes sense. But getting back to the draft lottery, Pacers may end up losing some more money. I would bet that. I saw Kevin Pritchard, who was active on social media, kind of gauging. And as I mentioned, I have a video that, hell, I don't know if that's popped yet or not, but I have a video that I talked about this yesterday. None of it matters. What matters the most is what the Pacers believe they're doing. It is what is best for their organization and how they do it. I just don't have the feeling that they've cheated anybody. I don't think they've cheated the game. I don't think they've cheated integrity. I don't think they've violated anybody. What they have done is they still have played their guy, their all-star, for the most part, as much as they would have, if not more anyway. And what they really owe is to themselves and to you, the fans. With all that, the rules in the NBA are you follow them as best as you can, but you also do what's best for you, your organization, and your fans. And I feel that that's what they're doing right now. And it's really just like what Dallas is doing with Kyrie Irving. You can bring this guy back right now, but what's the use? Plus, if you bring him back, maybe you do win a couple more games. So how is that not tanking? Well, he's good to go, right? He's ready to go? Or you just say he's slow on the rehab or what? Oh, it all works in mysterious ways, but organizationally speaking, you're doing what is best for you and doing what's best for the fans. And I think that's what the Pacers are doing right now, and I don't think anybody should have a problem with it. Now, Adam Silver and the NBA certainly have had a problem with it because they find the Pacers. I think the Jazz, to me, are going about it much differently. But that's an argument I think we can get more in depth with some other time. But I'd fired this thing off a little bit earlier, whether the NBA and Adam Silver are going to find the Mavs for this. So true. And as I added yesterday, and I said in this video, there's not any team that has been more compromised with injuries than this Pacer team this season. So all makes sense. Just the outcry all of a sudden, just other than the top four picks being so in demand. You know, other years when you don't have this top four demand, you don't have this outcry. Thus, nobody really cares. The real interest for this Pacer team is going to come on Mother's Day. We got a bit of a wait. All right, 239-1070. We got that for you as well. The Pacers are on the verge of restarting after the All-Star break as well. Got back-to-back, I believe, with the Washington Wizards coming up this week. I mentioned Butler on the road versus Georgetown later on tonight. Indiana State's got one, and Indiana State's bringing back an old friend of ours, their former coach and friend of the show, who is a Phoenix Suns scout. I think a year ago he was with Bobby Hurley and Arizona State, by the way, upsetting Texas Tech last night. Did Arizona State, if you watched that one late. But he is a Suns scout. Greg Lansing's going to join us on the other side. Kevin Bowen of the morning show coming up at the top of the hour. I took some NyQuil, and it knocked me on my ass. And then I was doing that, whatever we had to do, James, for the station, and it was so damn long, I passed out during it the other night. And I had the damnedest dream ever about people in this building, in this station. Mm-hmm. And one in particular, I have no idea why it was Kevin. Kevin was like the main focus here. We'll get to that story with Kev coming up at the top of the hour. Rob Blackman, voice of the Boilermakers, he had the call last night on the Purdue loss at home to Michigan, and then a bit of a preview for Friday as Indiana and Purdue play at Mackey Arena. Part 2, by the way, of that rivalry in West Lafayette coming up on Friday. Rob Blackman's in the 4 o'clock hour. Tim McGraw tickets we have to give away. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. You guys good to go on a glorious Wednesday for the month of February. You take a day like today and you run with it. Windows open, volume cranked. Let's get energized on this Wednesday, Indy. Thank you for joining us. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Great idea for you. A day like today is perfect. Perfect to call out Johnny Crystal Love at Love Heating and Air, 317-353-2141. Why? Because you could check out a system, a heating unit, make sure it's working effectively, efficiently, without, again, messing with a situation where it is a warm day. You don't have to lean on that heat in your place. You can check it out. And if you need a repair, mention my name, get $95 off the service fee. Yes, a perfect day to call Johnny Chris Love at Love Heating and Air today. 317-353-2141. If you need a repair, mention my name, $95 off the service fee. The best of the business. Love Heating and Air. 317-353-2141. Online, love-hvac.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Yeah, but they were all bad.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, so the Pacers go back-to-back tomorrow night, Friday night, on the road to Washington, back at home against Dallas. Coming up on Sunday, I think first of 4 straight at home. Dallas, Philly, Charlotte, and Memphis would be those matchups. Boilermakers, a loser at home last night to number 1 Michigan and Dusty May. Of course, you get Purdue and Indiana coming up on Friday. Yeah, the Friday rivalry matchup coming up at Mackey Arena in West Lafayette. Butler, Georgetown, Big East play on the road later on tonight. You can hear that here. We're off early because of that, I guess, right, again? Wow. Butler on the road against Georgetown later on this evening. Mark and Nick have the call. Meantime, Northern Iowa and Indiana State, that's over at Holman Center in Terre Haute. And let's welcome back a friend of the show. He is a scout now for the Phoenix Suns, the former head coach of our Indiana State Sycamores, who is going to sound the alarm, sound the siren. He's going to get everybody fired up for the game coming up later on tonight. In fact, Greg Lansing is back in Vigo County in Terre Haute. He joins us now. Hello, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. So good. I missed you. So good to talk to you.
I miss you too, pal. More than you possibly can imagine. Sorry, I just pulled a head.
I don't miss the train. I don't miss the train whistles. I know that.
Talk to him just for a second, James. I think I messed that up. Hell.
Apologies. John has pulled his headphones out of the jack.
I pulled my headphones out of the headphone jack right there. Sorry about that. Operator error. Hey, welcome back. Let's have some technical difficulties. Greg, how are you?
Well, that's all right. That was bringing some bad luck to you. I'm doing great, man. It's really good to talk to you.
When did you decide, or I should say, when did you get the overture from the university they wanted to bring you back, and how'd you decide on tonight as such nights?
Nathan Christensen, the new athletic director, reached out to me, and I had seen them at the conference tournament, met him and the new president last year at the conference tournament, and I just got to know him, talked to him a little bit, and then when they decided to do this train whistle thing, he had called me before the season, and my schedule, I can kind of make my schedule with games that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And I went through and I hit Notre Dame, I hit Butler, then I had Michigan at Purdue last night. So, and then my good buddy, Coach Jake at UNI was in here tonight. I just thought it'd be a perfect night.
Yeah, it is, and no doubt about that too. Does it stir some nice feelings for you too, being back in Terre Haute?
Yeah, it is. This is a home away from home, and we just have so many good friends here. It's family. I spent a lot of my life here, and had some wonderful, wonderful times. And as you know, I didn't want to leave, but that's just the way it goes. And I was lucky enough to be the head coach here for 11 years, and we did some great things and been around some great people, and a bunch of them are coming back tonight too for the 2011 team. So a bunch of the former players on our team are going to be here, so it should be quite a special night.
2011 was hellaciously awesome year, buddy. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, it was a good one, and we had 2 NITs after that, and we had some success. There's no question. And as you remember, that was back when we had the Wichitas and the Creightons and the Loyolas in the league, and the league was something else. And now tonight, hopefully, we can help get the Sycamores' fortunes turned around a little bit.
That is Greg Lansing, the former coach of Indiana State, in town in Terre Haute. Indiana State hosting Northern Iowa later on tonight at 7 o'clock at the Holman Center. So you're a scout now. You were a scout previously, and you're a scout again with the Phoenix Suns. As you mentioned, you're bouncing around the U.S., scouting college teams and players and such. Do you miss being a coach? And I know you're on the sidelines at Arizona State too, but do you miss being a head coach a lot of nights?
Well, you miss some things about it, and then there's some things you don't miss about it. But one thing I do miss is the relationships and being with the guys, and it's just the what you might think are smaller things. Walking into the locker room during the day, and they're in between classes, and you get to talk crap to each other about the NBA games the night before, what's going on, and then when you travel with them, being around them, and just being a part of their life, and one thing I always wanted to do is surround myself with really good staff, really high character people, and do the same with players. And I really feel like we did that as a whole here. So you miss those kinds of things. And I always said the reason why I stayed in coaching was when after a big win, you walk in that locker room just to see the look on the guys' faces. And so you miss some of those things, and I'm around it a lot. It's my job now. I get to go watch games, so I'm around it a lot, but there's no, I don't have the ownership that maybe we used to have.
You have seen the landscape evolve since you were last a head coach. Is this a type, and I use landscape as a term all the time because really that's the way that it is in college athletics in general. But is this something that you could see yourself being a part of again, or is it even more difficult now with NIL, transfer portal, and all that you have to deal with just beyond being the head coach of a team?
Well, there is a lot, but I feel like when I was here, it was all encompassing for me then, just because of the budgets and what we had to do on our own. Like I tell people I raised a lot of money here for our program just because I wanted our guys to be able to travel in first-class manner, be taken care of in a first-class manner. So we did a lot of that when we were here. Now the transfer portals and this and that, it's just the nature of the beast right now. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think anybody knows really what's going to happen. But like as a coach, you're just going to adapt to it. I think for the most part, coaches can complain about it, but others are just adapting and saying, "Hey, we're whatever it is, we're not going to complain. We're just going to go with what the current stature is of college athletics and do the best we can."
All right, Greg. This couple of scouting questions here. One, because I got to feel like what I need to work on at the age of 56 to be scouted and scouted up right
you got
here.
In better shape, so you're there.
Let me tell you what, I'm an absolute warrior now, buddy. Let me tell you, I am a warrior until something pops and snaps and things, which happens all the time now. But what do you look for just beyond just the eyeball, oh, wow factor of somebody's athleticism in general? What things you look for as a scout on the college trail now?
There's so many statistics out there now, John, and I was, even as a coach, I was more into the eye test and a gut feeling. And, you had your stats that you looked at, and I still do with some of the things, but I still trust my eye and watching guys and how I see how they work, how they interact with their players and staff and the other staff members that may be on the teams and around the programs, those types of things. Obviously, you want great talent. I mean, there's no question, and it's the best athletes in the world that we're looking at and we're watching. So everybody's pretty darn talented, but the draft is not a perfect science. So you're really, a large part of our business is intel. We dive into these guys and we try to find out what makes them tick and how they are, not just as a player, but as people in all aspects of their life. So we know it's important because it's a big commitment when you take care of these guys financially, and we're trying to build the culture. I think Brian Greger, our GM, has got off to a great start with that, and we want to continue to bring in the right types of people. And that's not much different from what I tried to do here when I was a head coach.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you mentioned the coachability. Is that something that really for you? Is that the first thing that you see, is whether or not somebody is coachable? Because anybody can see how athletic, right, and how strong and that factor. But the coachability, that's the first thing you look for. And I guess what I was going to ask is how do you look for it? What do you look for in general with that factor in mind?
Well, it's different, right? Because these guys aren't college kids. These guys are, well, I guess the college kids are getting paid now too, so they're somewhat professionals. But these guys are professionals. It's what they're doing for their life, and they're making a lot of money. So you want guys that have good character. You want guys that are good teammates and are great workers. We pride ourselves on improving, on a daily basis and get guys like that, and surround yourself with a coaching staff that's committed to doing the same thing, and you just continue to build as your team chemistry builds. You get the kind of character and the right guys, and then all of a sudden you have culture, and you have a culture of winning. Look at the OKC. I mean, that's just, it doesn't matter who's playing that individual night. Those guys are coming to play, and I think everybody looks at that and kind of has a plan like, hey, we want to be more like a team like that and build that kind of culture.
All right, so where are you pre-gaming tonight in Terre Haute? You got a spot?
Yeah, there's a few spots here, and there's a lot of people out and about and around, and I don't get into Terre Haute too often, so there's a lot of people that I want to see, and I'm not going to get a chance to see everybody. But importantly is all the former players, and they got kids and their significant others, and we're going to get together here before the game and then head over. So
you going to the Copper Bar? Copper Bar?
Well, it just, it's right next to where I'm staying, so that's an easy one. Right? I'm the terminal right here.
That's the reason why. Christmas Eve, I went down and picked my mom up in Greene County, and my daughter was with me, and my mom said, hey, let's drive to Terre Haute Christmas Eve. And I said, okay. And we drove around. We were going to go to Maugers, but Maugers closed 5 minutes after we pulled in. So I go, all right, I don't know where we're going to go. Longhorn Steakhouse, buddy. Longhorn Steakhouse. That's where we went.
Used to take the guys to eat there. Yeah.
I got rocked the salmon and had a couple of beers, and it was all good. Now, it was nothing like, going, Longhorn's great, but it wasn't like going to the Valley or the Copper Bar, the Terminal, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. I love going over there because so many memories just automatically flow back to me for Terre Haute, and so many great memories, really.
Yeah, me too. I feel exactly the same.
All right. Well, hey, I'm happy to have you back. I got to do this thing coming up for the regular season finale there in March, what you're doing tonight. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, they should have had you first game or maybe a little earlier to get some momentum going.
Well, I have actually asked. I want to hoop, so I'm trying to round up some dudes to play a little pre-gamer, so I can get over there and do that. I think it's a Sunday.
Get a hold of Odom should set something like that up for you. He should get you ready.
Yeah, my Greene County and Monroe County coaching staff connections aren't really doing too much for me right there. I don't know why. They're concentrating on other things, I guess.
He'll get all those managers to get out there. They have those manager games. That'd be a good group for you.
Oh man, I would dominate the managers. Let me tell you. Hey, did you see Dusty last night?
I did. I did. Painter and I go way back, and Dusty, I remember when he was a manager for Coach Knight. So you talk about two of the class acts and great coaches in college basketball. Just good to be around them.
Well, and I love talking to them both. There is nobody that I'd rather talk to collegiately than Matt. Matt is just great. I was ask one question, and Matt just goes on, and he kind of plays off of his own answers, which is great.
Yeah, and he's hilarious and a great storyteller. I used to love finding him during those AAU long days because, like you said, all you had to do was sit there, and he'd take care of the rest.
No doubt. Hey, welcome back to Vigo County in Terre Haute. Greg Lansing is back, the former coach and now a Phoenix Suns scout. He is going to, blow the whistle, or that's what Too Short does, I think, right there. Blow the whistle or sound the alarm or hit the siren in celebration of tonight's game. He is back. It is fantastic to have you back. Congratulations on your path. Keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully we may meet up sometime soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks, my brother.
You got it. Greg Lansing, the former head coach of Indiana State, Phoenix Suns scout. He's got some pre-gaming to do over there. All right, anybody out there Terre Haute-wise, anybody go to Indiana State? Right now, I know what my top 5 would have been back in the day, back in the 90s in Terre Haute. What would be your top 5 in Terre Haute right now? So, Sycamore alum, I need to hear from you. Terminal, Copper Bar, Valley. The bar at Longhorn. What would be the top 5? I know from me, I mean, you had Cimarrols back then. You had the Overpass back then. You had High Towers back then. If you want to get really weird. 6th Avenue dancers, if you want to get really, really, really weird and in trouble. Top 5 over there at Terre Haute. Hoshians, former Sycamores. Well, top 5. 317-239-1070. You can send that via the text line if you like. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour. Rob Blackman coming up at the 4 o'clock hour as well. Don't go anywhere. Tim McGraw tickets. I feel it's apparent that on a glorious day like today in Central Indiana, somebody's going to win some tickets to see a great show. Tim McGraw coming up in September at Ruoff. Your chance to win is coming up. Listen to win. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, quick shout out to our friends at Big Red Liquors, 100 plus locations, state of Indiana, one near you at Powers every Saturday night, the JMV Takeover on B105.7. Are you ready? With the snow melted and gone, we have prices melting this week. And how about the big find of the week? Four Roses small batch, $5 off in what is one of the better bottles you're going to find out there, too. The easy pull options. You've got New Amsterdam, Old Smoky Moonshine. How about Beam? And if you're going to pivot to the beer, Modelo 24 packs, including the low-cal Modelo Oro. Yingling 24 packs. The low-cal is Yingling Flight, $3 off there. Or the old standbys, Busch and the High Life, 12 packs. You're going to save some money there, too, at Big Red Liquors. 100-plus locations, state of Indiana. I promise there's one near you. Set your sights on a great weekend right now and make sure you stop at your local Big Red Liquors. To find that location and for the great deals online right now, BigRedLiquors.com. This is John for Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st State Road 37. That's in Fishers. You guys ready for a great car buying experience? 2026, we're knee deep in that right now, the second month of the year. Now is the time to look for that great deal. You're not going to find any better selection of inventory with my friend Eric Wilson than Andy Moore Buick GMC in Fishers. And then the incentives to buy, and Eric and I talk about this all the time. In terms of incentives to buy, that's like a coupon that you get to save money on the car or vehicle, truck of your choice at Indiana's Best. And then it's obvious. I have been touting this for years, and now everybody is starting to understand. You want that vehicle that you choose to last. The longer, the better. The service after the sale, so incredibly important. And you're going to get the best selection, the best pricing, and the best service after the sale, all at one convenient shopping point. My friend Eric Wilson, Andy Moore Buick GMC. Tell him I sent you today, 131st State Road 37 in Fishers.
The Ride with JMV.
Excuse me, Robo. Any special message for all the kids watching at home?
Stay out of trouble.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Greg Lansing's back in Terre Haute. I got to have a top 5 current status. Indiana State / Terre Haute / Vigo County bar stops. Pacers not until tomorrow night. Back-to-back, they go in D.C. against the Wizards. Tomorrow night, then on Friday night, back at home on Sunday versus Dallas. Butler on the road versus Georgetown. Later on tonight, Boilermakers will lose to the number 1 Michigan. Last night, Rob Blackman's their voice. He joins us at 4:30 for full-scale discussion. Yeah, you guys are asking. I'm going to reach out to Dusty. I did not because I don't think they'd had a day off in a while at Michigan, and I was going to give that a couple of minutes. But we'll see if we can get Dusty on the show here relatively soon and talk about his team being number 1 in the nation and the one-loss Wolverines. They got a neutral site matchup against Duke coming up this weekend. Just announced within the last hour, James. I have never seen them before, and I really am not inspired to go see them now, but I might if somebody talked me into it. Who am I talking about? Sometimes people make fun of this particular band, or better yet, those that follow this band on the reg because of their perceived, their joked about lack of hygiene. What band am I talking about?
I have no idea.
Fish.
Oh.
The band Fish. I don't think Fish hit Ruoff a year ago. Not once, not twice, James, but 3 times in the month of July. Is that true? 3 times? Yes. 10th, 11th, and 12th. 3 nights of Fish.
So people who listen to Fish make fun of Fish for not being hygienic?
No, people that don't make fun of Fish fans because it was like they travel around like they did with the Grateful Dead. And everybody presumes that nobody ever washes and they have body odor and stuff. I've never seen it, so I don't know. Somebody that's actually seen it, do Fish fans actually have body odor? To tell me.
Should put a poll out on X.
I have never seen Fish. I don't even know if I know a Fish song. I feel, don't take this the wrong way, because you're a Renaissance man, as Nick described you last week. Mm-hmm. But I feel, in terms of my knowledge of Fish, like you in most other things. Having no recollection of a damn thing.
We're kind of in the same boat when it comes to Fish, because I can't say I know a lot about him either.
I don't know. And yes, T. Shaw says you're from Southern Indiana. Pronounce it Fish. It is Fish. Speaking of pronunciation, I don't get this at all. So, JR, take that back, not JR. James is asking why JNV is saying the word lottery wrong. I say lottery wrong?
Sounds normal to me.
Who's your lotto? Is it because I say lotto instead of lottery? Is that why? I don't understand why you would suggest. Sometimes I do, and I had to stop and pronounce a number of times after being made fun of myself of realty, because I would get caught between realty and reality. But I practiced and practiced and practiced. I'm really good at that now. Thank you very much. But yeah, I don't get the lottery thing. Oh yeah, by the way, too, Terre Haute, shout out to Sonkas. Sonkas on the bash. That would be a 4th over there right now. I do need a 5th. Does somebody have a 5th? I said the Terminal, Copper Bar, Ballyhoo, Sonkas, and Moggers, I guess. So there are 5 right there. The top 5 in Terre Haute, those 5 right there. Would you guys all agree? Northern Iowa and Indiana State, if you're going over later on tonight, say hello to Greg Lansing, who is going to be there and back for the first time in a long time. That is really cool. Rob Blackman, about 30 minutes away. Purdue a loser last night at home to number 1 Michigan. We talk about that with the voice of the Boilermakers. But on the other side, I had Lionel Richie once said, I had a dream. I had an awesome dream. People in the park playing games in the dark. I had a really weird-ass dream where I beat the absolute crap out of Kevin Bowen the other night, and I have no idea why. We've never had a cross word with one another. But I think it had everything to do with nighttime cold medicine. Bowen, with that discussion, franchise tags, Colts stuff, his love for the combine, which, oh, yes, I understand that, and obviously college basketball coming up. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Don't go away. Hey, John here for QC Kinetics. Yes, chronic knee pain hampered my ability to hoop at the highest of 56-year-old dude levels. It was a setback for me. And you know what? I want to keep doing what I'm doing until I no longer can do it. You know what that means. So while I'm here, I want to continue to play. So I had to shake loose of that knee pain, that chronic knee pain, with the help of QC Kinetics. So I qualified after the opening meeting. We were all good. We go in, and I found out a lot about the innovative treatments they have at QC Kinetics, using my own body's biologics to get rid of my pain. I called 317-559-PAIN, 317-559-PAIN, and got started. It worked, and it can work for you today. Successfully get back on track and rid yourself from the hampering chronic pain with QC Kinetics. That's QC Kinetics, PRP, stem cells, and more. You can check it out. QC Kinetics work for me. It can work for you. Find out if you qualify with QC Kinetics by giving them a call today. 317-559-PAIN. That's QC Kinetics. Tell them I sent you. 317-559-PAIN today.
The Ride with JMV.
We have the holy hand grenade.
Yes, of course. The holy hand grenade of Antioch. Right. 1, 2, 5.
Freezer.
3.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Rob Blackman, bottom of the hour. I listened to Rob and Buckets last night, Boilermaker Radio Network. Game not so good for Boilermaker fans. Hey, James, there goes that dude that parks half-assed down there in the Cadillac. You know, if there's going to be a dude that works in this building that parks half-ass, that drives a Cadillac, that's exactly the type of dude I'd envision right there.
Is he about to go out there and smoke a heater?
There is, without question, he going to do that. Does he work downstairs? Is that Buckingham downstairs?
I think he works down there. I'm not 100%
You think,
sure.
do they design stuff at Buckingham? Do you think he could design a way that he could park his ass right one of these days here?
They design a lot of things. I've never seen a parking spot, though.
Just curious. Hey, by the way, text line 317-239-1070. Jim McCann of Southern California chimed in with this. Fish played Ruoff 3 nights in 2024. Mike and I did the father-son concert night. The aroma filling the air was not body odor, but certainly recognizable. The weed. So I know people make fun of the hygiene of those that follow Fish, but is it more overpowering the BO or the weed? Weed's more recognizable than BO, isn't it?
I would say so.
No, seriously. Would you, if you smell BO or weed, which would you identify first?
Oh, I'd identify the weed first. Yeah.
All right, then. Back to that in a second. Greg Lansing a little bit earlier, podcast 1075thefan.com. Tom Crean's going to join us coming up tomorrow. IU Purdue coming up on Friday at Mackey Arena in West Lafayette. You get Butler on the road at Georgetown tonight. Tomorrow, Washington and Washington back-to-back for the Pacers in D.C. against the Wizards. Thursday and Friday night, back at home coming up on Sunday against Dallas on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. From the Fan Morning Show, along with James Boyd and Jeff Rickard. Kevin Bowen joins us. All right, first question. If you were soaking up 2 cents, body odor or weed, which would you identify first?
Yeah, I'm a James. Easily weed. Easily.
See, I don't know if you are you afraid to say body odor because do you have to have body odor to identify it before weed or have to have had it before? Because it has to be more recognizable. It's easier to say weed here.
Well, I mean, I just think there's just that distinct smell. Frankly, I feel like you smell it a lot more. I mean, are you defining body odor or is anything else than just your general aroma after you sweat?
I think body odor is just as identifiable as weed to me. Maybe because I've been around weed too much. But I didn't think anybody's been around weed more than James over there.
I think weed is just I would rank the easiest to smell like as gasoline, weed, and body odor.
Yes. Now we're on to something, Kevin Bowen, right there. Gasoline, weed, or body odor. Yes.
And back in the day, I was huffing the old Sharpie markers all the time. I used to be obsessed with the Sharpies. You know, the teachers would pull out those little dry erase board markers. Yeah, I used to be obsessed with those. Nothing
wrong with that. Hey, I don't know. I told Jeff Rickard this a little bit earlier, and I'm assuming he didn't call you today, but I had a dream. The other night I took some I was getting sick, so I took some nighttime cold medicine, which that dynamic has never gone well for me. And then it was on the heels of me taking that ridiculously long test we had to take here, being a part of this. You know what I mean? It was like an hour and a half or whatever it was. I'm assuming you've taken that, right?
Yeah, it was 40 days and 40 nights. I feel like that's how long it was.
Well, I passed out taking it, and then I had a dream about all of us, and you and I got in a fight.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that why you texted me this morning?
Yeah, it was. You and I got, I felt bad because I just beat the complete crap out of you, and I felt terrible because I like you a lot, and you know that. It was weird. I've never got into a dream fight with somebody that I like. Normally it's somebody I don't.
Was it? You got to check the bottle of the NyQuil. Is it expired? I mean, come on now.
No.
You can't be consuming that anymore.
It was weird. And it was over. You ripped me for a topic I had because you said, quote, I talk too much about hummus. I swear to you.
Well, that would be accurate if you said cottage cheese. I would have been all over that.
And, hey, here's the best part about it. Todd Meyer took pictures. James Boyd stood in the corner and giggled. And Jeff wasn't there.
Oh, my
so, yeah,
God.
that was how all went right there. James Boyd giggled in the corner, and Todd took pictures.
Dykton was queuing up music, for each and every scene of it. This sounds like a dream I actually would want to witness. I'm certainly glad it's not real life.
Well, it's funny because I got up at about 3 a.m. and went to the bathroom, and I almost started writing it down because it was so vivid to me at that time. I said, man, this is like on Wednesday. This is on-air material right here. And I was almost going to start writing it down, and it was so vivid to me at that moment, I felt I could remember it. And then, unfortunately, I only ended up remembering the highlights of it. But they were still pretty good because there was more to it. But had I written it down as I thought about doing at that time, and I've always should have done that, but I didn't end up doing it. And I only, again, remember the kind of the highlights of it. And those were the highlights.
I feel like once a week I've got a dream that I'm like, I've got to write this down. And then I'm like, oh, no, I'll just remember in the morning. And then I get to the morning, I remember like 1/10 of it. I'm like, why didn't I, of course, writing it down at 2:38 in the morning sounds like the dumbest idea in the world, too.
Kev, I get the greatest ideas in the shower of all time. And I always say, why do I not have like a dry erase board in there or something? Because I never remember them. I don't know if it's because I'm so damn disinterested while I'm in the shower with what's happening there or what. But always the greatest ideas in the shower, never write them down, thus really never remembering them. It's sad.
Well, I'm sure you've had some action before in the old shower, so I don't know. Maybe that's what your mind is.
Yeah, you know me. You know me and me and Mrs. Drain right there. Good buddies, let me tell you. All right, one of your favorites, if not your favorite time of the year, is upcoming here. I know you love the Combine. You and James together probably love the Combine more than anybody else here. In particular, you look at the Colts without a first-round selection. What is the major focus for you going into the Combine next week? I think it's next week, right?
Yeah, well, I think from a news item standpoint, the first one, I guess, is what's up with Travarius Ward? Is he playing? Is he not playing? Because I do think that really impacts a lot of their offseason. And, some might say, hey, even if he decides to come back, you almost have to act in a way that at that first concussion he's going to be done, and maybe cornerback still becomes a bigger need than we're talking about it here. Certainly Pierce and Daniel Jones, it'll be just after the Combine. I want to say the Combine gets over. I think it's like a day or two after is when the franchise tag window closes. But so we'll get clarity, on that and, start to get some finances exactly of, okay, what do they do? What do they have left? And so that is, I think, definitely more of a real topic than we typically have. Some years we don't even talk about the franchise tag at all in regards to the Colts. And then just in general with the draft, where is, because they don't have a pick, to your point, until the middle round 2, where is the depth? And, I was looking at Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft yesterday. He had 7 edge rushers going in the first round.
Ouch.
So that, yeah. Now, yes, ouch, not to have a first-round pick. But also, does that indicate it is more of a deeper edge rush draft class, which, again, I can't recall the last time we've said that. So, could the Colts benefit from that at all, considering they aren't picking until the middle of round 2? So, those would be some of the things. And obviously from a local standpoint, we have, the 9 Indiana guys. If you look at, Jeremiah's mock draft, he's got Dylan Thieneman, the Westfield kid, going top 20. Yeah. So it is probably – you're going to have a Westfield and a Lawrence North kid going round 1. When's the last
That's
time?
Cool.
It's probably a Rakestraw question, but when's the last time we've had that as a possibility?
That is really cool. I was trying to rack my brain very quickly on that. That's a hell of a question, though. But That is, I guess it makes interesting even with the Colts without a first-round selection. Here's what I gather out of it, though, especially in terms of Ward. So if Ward steps away, if he is done with football, if he retires, does that make the Sauce Gardner trade look better or worse, or is it going to look worse until further notice regardless?
Yeah, fair question. I don't. I mean, hindsight can be so 20/20 with some of that. I guess my general thought on the Gardner trade right now is this: I don't think, and I look more at Carly Ursay Gordon, to be honest with you, in regards to that trade. I don't think she fully realized everything that was involved in that trade. And when you send 2 first-round picks away, you are saying we have an unquestioned franchise quarterback, side of the building guy, no doubt about it. I think it's very premature to call Daniel Jones that. Unfortunately, his injury history would probably be one of the big reasons why. And then 2, it also is hey, Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are our corner, whatever, our core decision makers here moving forward, which, again, I don't think their resumes, in particular Ballard, deserve that by any means. And I think when you also make a trade like that, you are so just dependent on that one player being an absolute home run grand slam. Like, he's the only element of the trade that you got. You sent away the 2 first-round picks, and those 2 first-round picks you can do a ton with. I mean, you could trade back, get more picks. You could trade them for players. You could trade up. Like, you can do a world of things with those picks. And then, obviously A.D. Mitchell, and I'm not going to act like Mitchell is some whatever future Pro Bowler, but still he is of some value. And if you're thinking about parting ways with Michael Pittman Jr., if you had A.D. Mitchell, maybe that would have you think a little bit otherwise. And so that's where you look at Sauce Gardner and you're just like, I mean, this dude's got to be an absolute stud. And even if he is, do you feel the team impact to the level that you need to? And, certainly in year 1, obviously the injuries played into it, but, there's only so much I think an elite corner can do. It can help you, no questions asked, but there's only so much you can do. The Colts got incredibly high cornerback play from Stephon Gilmore a few years ago, and nobody even remembers what happened during that season. So that's where I don't think they were in a position really to execute that type of trade, given the quarterback situation and in particular given the GM and the head coach.
Well, and that has, I think, obviously, unless it's also a financially based decision, and you and I have had this conversation before, the reason why everything, for the most part, has been maintained right here. Yeah, even with the lack of resume and understanding why it's been maintained, that plays as they said after the season, as significant of a role as to everything staying the same as anything. And that is tough for people around here to truly understand, and I get it.
Yeah, and it's a question I actually got today from a fan when they saw whatever the Seahawks were selling. Someone brought up again, hey, where are the Colts at financially? Is this something? And for those that haven't been following Paul Allen and his sister Jody Allen and that sale, I mean, he had said in his will that he wanted the teams, plurally, the Trailblazers also being in there, to eventually sell and then that money go to some philanthropic endeavors. So I can't imagine Jim Irsay indicated that, but yeah, obviously that's me projecting a little bit here. So again, financially, how much did hiring a new GM and a head coach, if at all, play into the decision making of their offseason? Carly, asked Carly that question at the end of the season. She downplayed that very, very quickly, but again, like we've talked about before, that is a question that I get a lot, and I get it from a lot of different areas, from people asking me that. And there's only, I think, so much, and you can kind of look into some of that stuff, and I get where people come from with that. But they're running it back here, and we'll see exactly how that impacts things moving forward.
Worth of Daniel Jones, to me, there's no franchise tag. And I don't know how you feel about this. And I know they're going to have a lot of NFL teams out there that are going to be looking for quarterbacks. I just don't know if anybody's going to be looking in that particular direction, given the circumstances of injuries and certainly history. But your thoughts on the value? He's not going to be franchise tagged. If you're going to do that, you got to do that to Pierce. So what is going to be the value, you think, of considering here Daniel Jones is going to be your short-term future for whatever that means, quarterback here? As far as a year value of a deal, what do you think his worth is?
Yeah, I think the ballpark has kind of been in that 3 years for $100 million, kind of around Baker Mayfield, I think a little bit like Darnold.
Yeah.
My question would be, okay, what is the guarantee? Because, again, his injury history you can't ignore. And the franchise tag guarantee that you bring up is about $46 million. So, over the course of 3 years and $100 million.
That's way too damn expensive right there for him.
Right. I mean, unquestionably, it's way too expensive for 1 year. But again, are his agents able to play the game where, hey, we feel like the guarantees need to be at least $50 million on a $100 million deal? I mean, given the quarterback market and the lack thereof, and how desperate the Colts are, I don't. That would not stun me, I guess. My question too, and again, some of this plays into the guarantees. I'm probably more of a 2-year versus a 3-year because I think you want to match up everything with that first-round pick, or I should say picks. You obviously don't have it this year. You don't have it next year either. So my thought there is, okay, you align it with you don't have your first-round pick in each of the next 2 drafts, and then boom, 2028, I guess that would be. Then you could, theoretically cut ties if you needed to, or he would just walk if it was a 2-year deal, and you would have your first-round pick in 2028. So. Those are probably the questions that I would have with Jones.
I think about it from this standpoint, too. You're either trying to sell half a season if you're his reps, which I'm assuming you are, but also you're trying to sell the fact that there are a lot of teams out there that need quarterbacks, and maybe that ups the value. Do you consider those 2 variables as possibilities for Daniel Jones and the reps and trying to drive up the value of a price tag for the Colts?
Well, I think the team they could really dangle is Minnesota. I mean, given the J.J. McCarthy now downward trajectory, which wasn't necessarily the case this time last year, and then all of their, front office dysfunction that they have had here and recently firing their GM, I believe Minnesota offered more than Indy last year for Daniel Jones. But smartly, I think Daniel Jones looked at the 2 situations and thought, hey, J.J. McCarthy's got to play in the NFL. The leash is just going to be longer for him than it is for Anthony Richardson in Indy. And he smartly weighed those 2 options and clearly found the right situation for him. But again, does Minnesota come in and try to make some, huge offer? And, money always talks, and money wins 90-some% of the time in debating these things. But I do think there's an element of Daniel Jones where you got to look at what Shane Steichen did. And for the most part, this offense looks like it's going to come back intact. And, I think the Indy atmosphere, fit him from a lifestyle standpoint much more than New York. Not to say Minneapolis is probably much more of an Indy speed, but all of that would check out. Now, again, there's a price tag to everything, so there's only so much you're going to take less if it does get into that sort of bidding war. But, for me, and you said it earlier, Pierce is more the viable free agent tag candidate in my eyes. So, again, that's where this Daniel Jones stuff becomes a little bit more relevant. But, both parties were just so public at the end of the season in expressing kind of their mutual desire to make this continue. I'd be stunned if it didn't.
Looks like Team USA in hockey finally scored. The second period just now, as you were talking right there. Finally put one.
1-0.
As they say the biscuit in the basket. Or is that too redneck? 1-0 over Sweden right now in the second period. About the 9-minute mark of the second. Team USA puts one past the goalie, Kev. And we all giggle when I say that.
Yeah, yes, I did giggle. I actually watched the first period. It looked like it was pretty competitive there. We had a bunch of shots on goal early on. But then,
shots.
Sweden kind of held their own from then on.
Hey, before I let you go, so has James Boyd told you that I shame James and the group if they don't play on Sunday mornings? Has he said that?
Oh yeah.
I am a habitual shamer.
Basically, he comes in Monday and basically gives us a lowdown of whatever's happened Sunday in the hoop games.
Oh, man. I hope he doesn't say everything. Holy crap. Well, sometimes he gets a little nickname, a little inner office nickname sometimes, and we all giggle about that. So, yeah. But no,
he does love it though. He is. He's very appreciative, and he's always enjoying the level of play. And he's always very complimentary. And of course, he's always saying, every week JMV's yelling short.
He fits in perfectly. He is good for the group. He shows up, plays hard, runs the floor, knows how to play. He fits in perfectly. I got to run here, Kev, but I did want to get one final note with you really quick. As far as tanking is concerned to the Pacers, I put it this way. You do what is best for your organization and your fans, and be damned with everything else. They're not doing anything egregiously. They're the most injured team in the NBA. We all know that. So what they're doing to me, even though I hate the fact that you're playing for entertaining losses, I do not mind whatsoever the way they go about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is how the NBA has rewarded teams to try and get future stars. This is the method you have to do. It's not ideal at all for fans, especially paying customers, but it's the reality of the business. So, yeah, I would say the Pacers are on the least amount of whatever egregious forms of tanking of any team here in recent history. And I really don't think we would have gotten even what we've gotten, which I wouldn't call it very egregious what they've done this year. I mean, Siakam played 51 of
and they get lumped into it like it's the most egregious, which is just hilarious to me.
Yeah, so that to me is also, when you look at it, Neesmith going down early and Nembhard going down early and Mathurin going down early and just all those injuries on top of Halliburton, I think just kind of added to it. If we don't get all those early season injuries, maybe we're talking about a little bit of a different story. But you couple all that together with the losing, of course, and, now they're in the position that they are. But again, we're still talking about Siakam playing, some of the most, I believe it's the most minutes he's played in a Pacers uniform. Here in the 3 seasons that he's been here. So, that to me doesn't really check out for a 31-year-old.
All right, keep on keeping on. Don't get mad at me because I had a dream that we got in a fight and you got your ass whipped. I don't want Brad Bowen getting mad at me either, nor Matty Bowen. I have a great deal of care as to what they feel about me. I hope you understand that.
Well, we do, but you got to throw that NyQuil bottle away ASAP.
Yes, there's no. May have been something else in there. Maybe cross-section some things right there that probably I shouldn't have right there. But anyway, hey, good to hear from you, buddy. Have a great rest of the week.
All right, John. Take it easy.
Kevin Bowen of the Fan Morning Show. He and James and Jeff, weekday morning, 7 until 10 a.m. Eddie Garrison is here writing down the week's worth of scheduling. And I mentioned, too, Team USA in with the goal, the 9-minute mark of the second period. 1-0 over Sweden as they play in the second period of the quarterfinals. The U.S. men's hockey team versus Sweden in the Milan Olympics. Canada a winner a little bit earlier today as well. Quick break. We shall return. Don't go anywhere. Rob Blackman's coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John here for the best in realty. Mark Dietel Realty. 317-755-4232. That's markdietel.com. MarkDietel.com today. Man, life changes. They just happen, right? And, maybe you're going through it right now or did go through it back in the middle of 2025. But now you're thinking about maybe having kids that are graduating, moving on to college, empty nesting. Do you need all that space? Or if you're growing the family and you need more, you have to have somebody with the versatility to get the job done exactly how you want it. New place or old, wherever you're going, whatever you're dealing with, Mark Dietel is the absolute best. In fact, Mark Dietel is the only real estate expert I trust and recommend with the sale of my home. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. It's Mark Dietel Realty, 317-755-4232. That's markdietel.com, markdietel.com today. Hey, John here, looking for that best deal on TRT. Don't pay hundreds of dollars out of pocket for a franchise or settle for a one-size-fits-all dose from your doctor just because it takes your insurance. At Synergenics and Low T Center, you get powerful TRT dose for your body and get it covered by insurance. Synergenics and Low T Center work with most insurance plans and customize each dose of TRT for maximum effectiveness and safety. It's TRT that actually works with your body. So the month of February, they're offering free testosterone tests and discounted peptides and GLP-1s to make getting your life back as easy as possible. You guys ready? Synergenics or lowtcenter.com to book online today. And again, in the month of February, you feeling exhausted? Have you lost or maybe been derailed with the sex drive? Book a free testosterone test at Synergenics and Low T Center. Do that today, lowtcenter.com or synergenics.com. Book your free TRT appointment today.
The Ride with JMV.
Attention, whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
9-minute mark, second period. Team USA, Dylan Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings with the goal, 1-0 USA over Sweden. Quarterfinals in Milan at the Winter Olympics. Canada already threw a little bit earlier. I saw Nick Suzuki had the equalizer for the Montreal Canadiens. They go into whatever their overtime session is. It's weird. Like 3-on-3 or something like that. Hell, I don't know. I'm a fringe viewer, but I was watching a little bit earlier today. We'll keep you updated. About 3.5 to go in the second period. Team USA 1-0 over Sweden. Meantime, Butler, Georgetown later on tonight. That's in D.C. for you. Also in D.C. tomorrow night and Friday night. The Pacers back in action after the All-Star break. Back-to-back versus the Wizards back at home on Sunday versus the Dallas Mavericks. IU Purdue on Friday at Mackey. Last last night at Mackey, Michigan flexed a great deal of muscle without question. The number one team in the nation looked the part. 25-1, Dusty May's Wolverines with a 91-80 win over the Purdue Boilermakers. And the voice of the Boilermakers, kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. It is Rob Blackman with us. Let me tell you this. You know, I'm a big fan of you and Buckets doing radio. Your 18-point play reference last night may have been one of the best of all time. I celebrated that for about 5 minutes when I heard it. It was glorious.
Well, thank you. Nice to know someone's listening. Yes, Purdue could have used some 18-point plays.
Yes.
Because you're right, man. I think your phrasing was spot on when you said Michigan flexed.
Yeah.
Their muscle, because man, I tell you what, I was uber impressed with just how good they are. And I thought Matt Painter even said it best when I listened to his post-game comments. He visited with the media. He said, most teams, when you get them to go to the bench, you feel like they're going to take a step backwards in talent level. And that's not what happens with Michigan, man. They go to the bench and the guys they bring off the bench are just as good as the starters. So yeah, I was color me impressed, because I was thoroughly impressed with what I saw from Michigan last night. They are, and obviously, John, I haven't seen every team play, in person, but I have a hard time believing there's another team out there better than Michigan right now at this point in the season.
Well, you saw them earlier this season over a lot of teams, top 20, top 10. They're running roughshod 20, 25-point margins of victory. And then they hit that rough spot where, Dusty called out his guys for not playing together. And certainly they did last night. But, Rob, what stood out to me, and offensive glass and board work, that had hampered the Boilers against Illinois and certainly, Iowa State to a degree, three-point shooting, because you get off the offensive glass, a lot of step into spray-like three-pointers that are layups to these guys. But the one thing, Rob, that stood out to me last night defensively for Michigan is you could tell how many times did Purdue have a jumper blocked because they closed out and got a deflection on the shot, where you could tell the Purdue players, they weren't used to that. These guys closed out so quickly and so athletically that it was like Purdue was surprised every time that they had a shot blocked. And I can't remember a time when they had that many jumpers blocked in that fashion.
And you could really see it, John, sitting courtside, their length and their athleticism. Speaking of Michigan, Roddy Gale's 6'5", Namari Burnett 6'5". They're your backcourt players. And you are right. They really harass jump shooters. And I would even add, you think about early in the game, Braden Smith missed 2 layups at the rim from the right block. I mean, Braden Smith, first-team All-American, misses 2 layups. And I would argue because of the length of Michigan, had him second-guessing going in there to begin with. They're just so good at altering shots. I think the final stats had them at 5 blocks as a team, but you could double that number with shots, maybe triple that number with shots that they altered with their length and athleticism. And the amazing part about all of this, what you're talking about there, Purdue having trouble, getting open looks against some really good defenders. Purdue shoots 30% from 3, and yet Purdue scored 80 points against the number 1 defense in the nation. So there's a part of me that says maybe it wasn't all that bad. You just scored 80 against the top-ranked team defensively in the country, and you did so by shooting 30% from 3. But make no mistake about it. Like I said, Michigan is far and away the best team that I have seen this year, and it's not even close.
Has Purdue lost a game where they scored 48 points in a half a play, like they did in the second half last night?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, great question.
You don't have to answer. I mean, hell, it doesn't really matter, because oftentimes in games like that, I mean, when Purdue pushed it to like 11 and then the fans tried to get into it, Michigan always had not just an answer, but like a dagger each time of an answer, an answered
absolutely.
3. And really, Rob, a lot of those shots didn't come off of misses. A lot of those shots were just within the offense when Purdue, got it down to 11. They came back and knocked down a 3.
Yeah, or they quickly pushed it in transition a couple times also. That to me, that's what was so impressive. Well, the number of things were impressive about Michigan, but yes, they always had an answer, and always had an answer on the road. in Mackey Arena, where most teams normally do not have an answer. Michigan had an answer every time. But if we just want to cut, right to the chase, to me, what it all came down to is what, quite frankly, it's come down to every victim of Michigan's trouncings this year. There's always that 4 or 5 minute stretch where Michigan just has an absolute avalanche and the opponent just cannot stop it. And it happened last night at Mackey there midway through the first half when they went on that 16-0 run. If you think about the rest of the game basically stays at 16 points the rest of the way. Now, it fluctuates a little bit between 11 and 18, but for the most part, from that point on, it was a 16 to 15-point game. And it's because Michigan goes on a 16-0 run to separate themselves from the opponent, which is what they've been doing all year long. And I know Dusty May's your guy. You watch a lot of them. They will have and you never know when it's coming. That's the problem. You never know when that avalanche is coming. But when it comes, you better have an answer for it. And Purdue did not have an answer. And as I said, once Michigan got it out, that 16-0 run, they pushed that lead out. You never really felt like Purdue was going to be able to get back into the game. Not against the team as talented as those guys are.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Rob Blackman, voice of the Boilermakers. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. A Friday night encounter, part 2 between IU and Purdue at Mackey Arena. In fact, the second of 3 straight at Mackey. These are vital games. And obviously, you could tell in the post-game presser, Matt wanted everybody to forget about that one and move on as quickly as possible because, frankly, you don't want to have to dwell on it. We all saw what happened. He saw what happened, and now you just kind of move on and try to get better off of it. Where do you start with this group? And I guess one of the things that I noticed last night, and I think this is a good thing, and losing sucks, but the one good thing was Trey Kaufman-Wren is playing better, and Trey Kaufman-Wren seems like he's as engaged, and I'm glad, and he should be, at this point of the season, and he was as engaged last night as I have seen him this year. If you want to talk about something that is good to play off of a loss last night, that's something I felt was good.
Yeah, I would start there. And really, it's the last 3 games. It just feels like we're now seeing Trey Kaufman-Wren of last year. You think, and it all started with the 19 rebound game at Nebraska, and then he comes back and has the 12 rebounds at Iowa, and then has the double-double, 27 and 12 last night. It really feels like, again, this is Trey of last year when he had 19, 20-point games. The other thing I would say that is encouraging, and this may be some maddening to some fans, the fact that Braden Smith, I think he would tell you, at least in the first half, played his worst half of basketball he's played all season.
I heard you say that last night too, brother.
Yeah.
I heard you and Buckets talking about that, and you're right. Yeah.
And the crazy thing, and then when the game's over, oh, by the way, he had 20 points, 6 assists, and 4 steals. So to me, that's awfully pretty encouraging too, that if your best player has played his worst 20 minutes of the season and still ended up with 26 and 4, you're probably in a pretty good spot with that guy.
Yeah, and he's going to scrap. He's going to scrap and hang with it, and that's what he did. He did last night, even with the outcome. But you have to have greater success when the game is still hanging in the balance. I think that's probably what he would look at right there. And, there were just a lot of opportunities that were missed and hampered because, as you mentioned earlier, the length and the athleticism that Michigan brings is really unmatched across the nation.
And I did see, I was looking at some of the Michigan postgame quotes this morning, and it looked like, if I read them correctly, that was the Michigan game plan. Put a lot of length on Braden and really make it tough for him to pass the ball. They weren't so much worried about him the scoring, but passing the ball to the 3-point shooting opportunities for Purdue out on the perimeter. And it sure seemed to work. It looked like what they were doing defensively was really effective in the first half. Now, again, Purdue made some halftime adjustments and was able to get a little bit more efficient offensively. But, I know you're having me on here to talk about Purdue, but I just can't get over how impressed I was with Michigan last night. I now clearly see why not only they're number 1 in the country, but all these folks that call themselves bracketologists all seem to have them as the number 1 overall seed. And I saw nothing last night that would discourage me from thinking that same way.
Yeah, I make fun of Dusty for pissing and moaning about that little hump in the stretch where he said his guys weren't playing together. Yeah, I think anybody out there would take that little bump in the road right there, wouldn't they?
Well, and I hope P.J. Thompson doesn't mind me sharing this story, but the game's over and I'm back in the coach's locker room, and of course we're all bemoaning the loss, and and I'm pretty sure it was PJ. He said, "Man, that's like playing an all-star team." And I thought to myself, "Yeah, he's right. That is like playing an all-star team." Not only because again what they have in the starting five, but what they bring in off the bench. And to Dusty May's credit, look, Lindenborg. I don't think there's any surprise that he's had the season he has had. I mean, everyone pretty much knew that he was going to be a real difference maker. But like Morez Johnson, I mentioned this in the broadcast. He averaged 7 points a game last year.
I heard that last night too, by the way, too. That reference, yeah.
Yeah, and he started like 7 or 8 games. He was a non-factor. Adai Mara didn't even start last year at UCLA. He didn't start a single game yet. They come to Michigan, and you could just say the same for Cadeau, even though I know he was a regular for North Carolina. Just the way those 3 guys have elevated their games once they've gotten to Ann Arbor, they've stepped it up such a major in a major way that, my goodness, they really do resemble an all-star team. And I'm not saying they can't be beat. Obviously Wisconsin got them once, but boy, if you're going to beat those guys, you better hope they're having a bad shooting night, and you better hope that you're shooting lights out, and maybe you better hope that 3 of their stars are in foul trouble too, because man, are they good.
Yeah, it too. They had guys that stayed as well. You bring a lot of guys in, as you're going to have to do now until further notice. This is how a lot of teams, if not everybody's going to have to start playing it. But they also kept some guys that have been around there for a while, 2 guys that have made the transition from, Juwan Howard's era to, Dusty's era right here too, and guys that kind of know that they're not going to get them, and bring in guys that you recruit that know they're not going to get the type of clock that maybe they would want, but, fit into things well. That's a difficult balance and dynamic to keep up at that particular level, especially the way the landscape is in college athletics now.
And a tip of the cap to one of those guys you're talking about, Roddy Gale.
Yeah.
Last year I think I'd had it written down. He averaged just under 10 points a game last year. This year he's at 7 points a game, so he's had to sacrifice offensively. And then, look, Namari Burnett, and yes, I understand he's a 6th-year player, so that always helps when you're the oldest guy on the floor. But, he's a guy who, he was a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school, and he had to find his way, Texas Tech and Alabama, and then found his way to Michigan. And he's a guy that, again, I don't know if saying he's had to sacrifice is accurate, but, last year he averaged 9 points a game. This year he's averaging 9 points a game. He's not, he's certainly not the star that maybe, when you're a McDonald's All-American, you think you're going to get all the shots. He had 4 shots in the game last night against Purdue. So, yes, the 2 returners, the main ones, they certainly have sacrificed, and you mix in the 4 guys that I mentioned as the transfers, and daggone, all of a sudden you have yourself a hell of a ball club.
Job well done last night. The 18-point play reference was awesome, but I do like listening to one bucket's a great deal. You know that.
Okay.
Fletcher Lawyer wanted that 18-point play really bad.
I'm just glad someone's listening, John. That's it right there.
Always, my brother. I appreciate you. We'll catch back up soon.
All right. See you, John. Thanks.
So Rob Blackman, the voice of the Boilermakers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I saw this last night, too. If you guys watched the late game in the Big 12, James, Texas Tech was upset by Arizona State. All-American forward J.T. Toppin went out with an injury. That is a season ender, torn ACL for one of the better players in the nation. And if you remember, Purdue has a significant win earlier this season over Texas Tech. J.T. Toppin done for the season after a torn ACL on the right knee in the game last night. Texas Tech lost on the road at Arizona State. Hate to see that, you really do. Quick break, we'll come back. You and I on the other side at 239-1070. We've got Tim McGraw tickets to give away. Text line open 317-239-1070. AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. People ask me all the time, the weight loss, how do you feel? Better shape, better condition at the age of 56. I honestly have never felt better, have never been in this great a shape. All thanks to my friends Thomas and Lauren and Sam and Brianna, Felicia, and the gang at Premier Weight Loss. Top shelf people to deal with. And if you're thinking about embarking on your very own weight loss journey, now is the time. 317-643-4444. Now is the time to get started. Great deals, great pricing, and just a great time in general, because by the time summertime rolls around, you're going to be looking and feeling fantastic. So we're talking about weekly weight loss injections, but I always tell you this, and honesty is always the best policy. You work alongside this, you modify your diet, you make some changes, you stick to it, and you're going to see even better results. They're going to give you the baseline to start. You are going to be the determining factor on just how far you go and how quickly you reach these goals with Premier Weight Loss. Get started today. Hey, by the way, too, ask about their electronic toning machine. I'm doing that right now. It works fantastically. They have Botox, skin tightening, everything that you want to look and feel better right here and right now at Premier Weight Loss. 317-643-4444. Tell them I sent you. Get started on your weight loss journey today. That's PWLND.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Give me my theme music!
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
This is an album that will never age. One of the greatest of the 1980s. Can you name it? This date, 1985, Phil Collins and No Jacket Required, James. One of the great songs from the catalog of the album would be this one, Inside Out. 41 years on this date. No Jacket Required. So we're going to come out with another one, like the most noted Sussudio from No Jacket Required. Take Me Home, One More Night, Inside Out. It is just an ageless work of musical art from Phil Collins. No Jacket Required. This date back in 1985. All right, quick one. I want to be able to set the stage to have a 5 o'clock hour that we can all join in at 239-1070 on the other side. Boilermakers last night. If you want to get into the tanking stuff, we can. Period number 3, Team USA up 1-0 over Sweden, trying to advance to the semifinals in men's hockey in the Winter Olympics. That's some NFL franchise tagging and a lot more. 5 o'clock hour, 239-1070. You and I and Tim McGraw tickets coming up next, too. Hey, crank it up tonight, Clearwater Crossing, District Tap. You got the great deals on damn good food, happy hour specials. You got that covered, too. You have TVs everywhere. You're not going to miss a minute of any action whatsoever. It's just a great environment, Clearwater Crossing, and in downtown Indy, right there in the epicenter. You can do whatever you want downtown. Make sure you hit up the District Tap with the happy hour specials, the live music, the event space, the private rooms, and the damn good food. It is the place to be, either on the north side, Clearwater Crossing, or downtown Indy. Check out what they have to offer, even more than what I'm saying right now, thedistricttap.com.
The Ride with JMV.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
41 years. No jacket required. And Phil Collins and what you're doing right now. We're going to take you home. What a great song. What a great album. Tim McGraw tickets before we're out. I think we got about 40 minutes. We're going to be slotted maybe 20. So if you want to jump on board, you can at 239-1070. Would love to have you right here. Boilermakers a loser last night by 11 at home to number 1 Michigan. Rob Blackman, voice of the Boilermakers, described that and then some to you. Last hour, Kevin Bowen of the morning show, the Fan Morning Show, 7 until 10 a.m., That is weekday mornings, Monday through Friday, along with James Boyd and Jeff Rickard. Kev, we talked about franchise tags, the value, just a one-year value of Daniel Jones. And I hear all the NFL people are kind of dangling around the possibility of a franchise tag for Daniel Jones from the Colts, but that shouldn't be necessary. Not for playing half the season, not for being injured. And I don't even think, because there are teams out there like Miami, like Pittsburgh, as Kevin had mentioned, like Minnesota, that are in need of quarterbacks. We talked about that, talked about, in essence, what to look for regarding the combine. Talked about Shavarius Ward, and what you have to know is forthcoming some sort of decision whether or not you're going to continue playing football. And whether or not that makes the Sauce Gardner deal look good or bad or continue to look bad the way that it is right now. Somebody had asked me this the other day, and because we still don't have all the details because of time, it's tough to answer. Because right now you're just going to say, well, you have no number ones. You're a team that didn't make the postseason again. Got an injured quarterback, crossing your fingers and hoping. People ask me, so what do you think is going to turn out to be the better deal or the worse deal? And obviously talking in football terms, the trade deadline deal that you got with that of the Colts for Sauce Gardner and the Jets, and the one that you got for the Pacers with the Clippers for Zubats. And to me, the Pacers, and I think we're all in agreement on this, what makes that deal the best is if you get a top 4. So there's going to have to be a level of good fortune here. We can be satisfied with the 5 being figured out for the time being, but let's just face it, without 1 through 4, this is not even close. Especially if 1 through 4 goes to the Clippers and looks really good in a Clippers uniform. I think we went over yesterday, if the Clippers end up with that top 4, or I should say, if they end up with that pick, that first rounder, and the Pacers don't end up with the top 4, if the Clippers end up with that first round selection, that lottery selection, then that makes that deal look bad. And until further notice, that's how that is going to look. But you really have to wait on the time. You know, right now, I think everybody kind of views the Sauce Gardner and the lack of first rounders as being the worst. But that was just a question somebody had asked. And in terms of Sauce Gardner and that NFL trade deadline deal, is it better or worse if Ward decides to retire from football, that you have a guy like Gardner back there? You wanted both Ward and Gardner, but does it make it look better or worse if you at least have one dude in Gardner back there? I just think with the outcome, again, one of those situations until further notice, it's not going to look any good. Because you have a team outside the postseason. Because you have a team in a similar situation as it has been for a long period of time. And to answer those questions, that's where you are with it. So right now, it doesn't look good. All that could change with the success of a team. Or it could maintain or look worse with the lack of success. That, in fact, is the truth and really the tale of it all right here. DJ writes this, JMV, Bluff Road Barry showing his feelings towards Phil seemed today. Yeah, if you remember on Groundhog Day, Puxatawny Phil said 6 more weeks of winter. Bluff Road Barry, the groundhog, if you're ever driving up Bluff Road from the south side, Bluff Road Barry sits right there, right after Southport Road, right before you get to the train tracks there. He sits on the side of the road every day. He doesn't give a damn about the traffic coming by. He says, yeah, don't worry about it. We're all good. On a day like today, Bluff Road Barry remains the best in calling his shot for hopefully a shorter winter. Now, I know we're going to jump back into it here, especially after tomorrow with the alleged predicted weather that is coming in. But shout out to Bluff Road Barry for a day like today in February. I think we will all take it. Thank you very much. Without question. And I am right on top of it. Pretty damn funny. JMV, if you were watching Mick Cronin last night, why in the world, with the way athletics are today, would anybody want to play for him? Why in the world would anybody want to be around somebody like Mick Cronin when you can pick and choose? Well, I'll start right here. I'll give you 2 reasons why. One is because you get paid handsomely. And 2 is because you get paid handsomely to live in Southern California. So I'm guessing that would be it. But everything else, as of right now, I'll give you a great example of it. Last night, after that win, Dusty May was asked about how this makes Michigan look. And Dusty May's response was, nothing's been won. We have goals. We have other goals. We have national championship goals, Final Four goals, or whatever. He said, but it does look good in terms of bringing guys in, of recruiting. That makes it look good. And we all know this is one incredible free-for-all in college athletics. It does make you look good, even though you really haven't won anything just yet. In terms of Mick Cronin, a season like this season and a night like last night, outside of the finances and the location, doesn't make you look like a destination spot whatsoever. If you're a player out there outside of the money and the location, why would you want to jack with that? I will tell you, I think he's a good coach. But right now, you got to balance a lot of things. And unless you're high-level winning, acting like Danny Hurley can act like a jackass like that. Mick Cronin can't act like a jackass. Nobody's going to want to play for that for a single moment. That's what we gathered out of that last night. JMV, this from Yaney. I still don't understand your view on the Pacers deal being bad. Would you have rather kept Isaiah Jackson and let Matherin walk out the door, or make your 8th pick of the draft? Well, hold on a second. I think going through a season like this, you're deserving of a lottery selection. And if you don't have that, that bums me out. I'm not suggesting it's going to be altogether bad, but it's not going to be as good as you need it to be. I get that you need Zubats to be the pivot. You need a pivot. It's vital. You have that. He's a good player. But without a top 4, because you played at that level and you deserve it, that you can't deny that's not going to suck. It will. If somebody else ends up getting your lottery selection, that's going to suck. So being fortunate is vital here. They can still win games, the Zubats. In fact, they'll still win games, the Zubats. They'll still have a good team. But think how much better you're going to be and how much longer if you make that right selection. Think about somebody coming in. Like, for example, Yanni, think about a top 4 that have been described, whether, it's a kid from BYU or Boozer or Peterson. I think Wilson's the other one, right? The most commonly mentioned top 4. Think about getting one of those 4 and then being able to pair that up, that athleticism up, and that future up with your elite level passer, one of the best players in the NBA, who's invested in this team and Tyrese Halliburton to go along with what else you have. That is awesome. But simply put, it's not as awesome if you don't have that. And it's disappointing considering the type of season you have to go through in hopes to get to the end, and we don't have that. That's the common denominator. It's just not going to be as good as it can. Now, I will tell you this. If you go into the season next year and you lose that pick, but you still win, and you're right back in the postseason, well, forget about that. But it's tough to forget about that right now. Why? Because we're in it. And we're going to be in it for the foreseeable future. No, I want the Pacers to be able to look at this and be selfish with it. I think having that pick, having Zubats, having things figured out, moving into next year after this losing season, I want them to be selfish with it. That's being selfish with it. You just have to have good fortune to ride along. It has not been as rare as I think we all believe it to be just because of the Halliburton injury. There was a lot of good fortune in that playoff run. Don't get me wrong. But they deserve more. They deserve going through this season and losing and getting one of those first 4 picks. Hopefully it turns out to be that way. Sometimes you have to do this. Sometimes you have to take chances to get what you need. The one thing that we understand is when Miles went to Milwaukee, as much as you guys didn't like him, and especially at the end when we were all on the other side with him, but as much as you didn't like him, he was what was necessary here at the time. He helped get them to where they got the 7th game of the NBA Finals, even if his finals production was awful. He still helped them get there. And you know that it's necessary. What they have right now at that position was not going to get it done. So you had to address it. And the only way you can address it at that particular level was to dangle out that particular carrot. So you are rolling the dice right here. But I do think it has to work, and I don't mind them getting selfish with it. Get selfish. Be selfish. And they deserve it. There's just no way you can lose what is presumed to be that level of a talented player for the future without looking at that as disappointing. Maybe one of these days with success and winning that will change. Otherwise, it's probably not gonna. JMV, great call on Inside Out by Phil Collins from No Jacket Required. You are the man, indeed. JMV, this is 239-1070 on the text line. I'd like to know if JMV and James view Daniel Jones as Colts' long-term solution to starting quarterback. By long-term, I mean beyond just a couple of years. That has to be the hope. And again, you go into this with your fingers crossed. It has to be next year and for the foreseeable future. At least for the next couple of years, if that's what you're going to talk about. Has to be that. You got no other alternative. Unless you think Riley Leonard is a reasonable alternative, which I don't think anybody does. So it has to. And that's where you cross your fingers. You cross your fingers and you hope. JMV, do you remember Bo Disco in Terre Haute? My brother went to Indiana State and was a bartender there. That may have been a precursor to me on the TH right there, brother. Bo Disco does not ring a bell. I remember the Overpass. I remember High Towers. These are bars that are no longer there. I remember Simrals. And then obviously the ones that are still there. Bo Disco, I do not. Sorry about that. JMV, Michigan didn't score in the first 3+ minutes, had 14 turnovers, and still put 91 on the board. Braden Smith scored a bunch of mostly meaningless points in the second half of the game. As a Purdue fan, we were sold that this is a national championship team, and the roster is clearly foobarred. They lack the combination of size and athleticism so badly it's glaringly obvious, and were punked at home by Iowa State, Michigan, and Keaton Wagler of Illinois, all elite teams and players. And there was a common theme with all three, and certainly two of the three, there was also a theme. Two of the three, rebounding, offensive glass, all three, three-point shooting. You got blitzed by Iowa State, but the offensive glass and the glass in general against Illinois and Michigan buried you. Buried you. And you saw that last night. As I mentioned to Rob Blackman, the one thing that stood out to me, and Rob agreed to it, was the closeout of Michigan defensively. It seemed like Purdue got more than a handful of their shot attempts, jump shot attempts, blocked or tipped because of the defensive presence, and because that defense closed out quicker than either A, what they're used to, or B, what they thought they were going to get. And that is inclined to believe just how athletic Michigan is, and you saw that on display last night. Really, I think on all levels you saw that on display. I mean, simply put, Purdue didn't have anything from Michigan, and you're right about their athleticism, and you're also right about this. If you're a Purdue fan, you're going to be disappointed in this because you have expectations, and if those expectations aren't met, then therein lies the disappointment. Now, I will remind you that most Purdue fans, you're not even thinking about anything until you get into the month of March, until you get to the NCAA tournament. But one of the goals, and at least as of right now, the most significant goal, is to win the Big Ten, and that is basically out the window. You still have time to do some things, and your major focus is going to be in March in the NCAA tournament. But there are teams out there that certainly we have seen give Purdue significant issues that it does not appear they're able to overcome. Michigan last night, you wonder about Illinois earlier this year, and certainly that buzzsaw they hit in the Iowa State Cyclones. Athleticism and speed and length have all given this team significant issues. You saw that fully on display last night. Quick break. We shall return. Again, we're off early. Butler and Georgetown coming up later on tonight. Butler, in fact, Georgetown, time is that this evening? Let me see. Why is it not up there? I thought Eddie put it up there. Is it not up on the board?
Tip, I believe, is 6:30, pregame at 6.
Gotcha. A lot of sense. Butler and Georgetown coming up later on tonight. I should remind you, too, Purdue and Indiana coming up on Friday. That is an 8 o'clock start. So 93 WIBC and Don Fisher will have your coverage at 7. I don't know what that means. Don may have to go earlier on Friday than usual then. But that is the second of 3 straight Purdue has at home. Michigan last night in that loss, IU on Friday, and then coming up next week against Michigan State. Michigan State get that win over UCLA, big-time fashion last night, too. Quick break, we shall return. Pacers back in action tomorrow night, and then on Friday, back-to-back games in D.C. versus the Wizards after the All-Star break. That and more, and the franchise tags that's going on. The window is open in the NFL. A lot of rumors happening, too, some involving the Colts. You saw that with Trey Hendrickson yesterday. The former, I should say now former, but certainly Bengals defensive lineman. That and more coming up for you as we close out the show. 239-1070, Tim McGraw tickets to give away as well. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. It's WeGrowHairEddie.com, 317-522-2995. You want your real growing hair again? I got you covered. Phone call away. So easy if you want your real growing hair again. 317-522-2995. Darren Andrews has all the details for you right now. Make sure you tell him I sent you. WeGrowHairEddie.com. Got a great deal going on right now for sump pumps. If you buy a battery backup sump pump, you're going to need it because the meltaway is happening too. And you've noticed things that could compromise the surroundings of your home, especially the basement situation, is levels of water, clogs, and more that all can be handled by the best in the business, the best in plumbing. LD Smith Plumbing and Drains at 317-927-7186. I mentioned those deals they have right now on the battery backup and the sump pump situation, but also making sure that all the drains in and around your home are clog-free. I just met Mason last Friday, came over to make some adjustments with the water pressure I have in my home and do some other things. Mason was outstanding because the best in plumbing, they come to your door when you need them. And right now you may need them. Give them a shout, 317-927-7186. Lance and his local team with LD Smith Plumbing and Drains online. That's ldsmithplumbing.com.
The Ride with JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Tim McGraw, September Ruoff. Who wants to go? Number 30 on the text line of 317-239-1070. 317-239-1070. Text line. Tim McGraw. Ruoff, that'll be a good one right there. So, yeah, go to it. 317-239-1070. Team USA 1-0, about $1:30 remaining in the third to move on to the semifinals of the Winter Olympics men's hockey tournament. And I blank you not, just gave up the equalizer to Sweden. Team USA just gave up the tying goal to Sweden with 90 seconds left in the game. So there you go. Oh, all game long, you're shutting it out, and Sweden. I'm going to see what happened here. Sweden gets the opportunity. Yeah. Puts in a one-timer right there. It is all even. By the way, Canada moves on to the semifinals a little bit earlier today. It took them an extra period, but they got it done. Kind of an interesting dynamic. Both Canada and USA would not meet until the gold medal game. But it would be a much more, I should say, a significantly easier path to get gold if you're Canada. If USA bows out in this fashion, this wouldn't be good whatsoever. About a minute remaining in the third. Man, just a little bit over the stick and in. 1:15 to go, and Team USA and Sweden, they are tied now at 1. Team USA just had actually an attempt right in front of the goal that was denied. See if they can do anything in this last minute. Yeah, you saw too. I was watching a little bit earlier. Yeah, Canada got down. Canada was down until the final 3 minutes, and Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens evened things up in the final 3. And you saw the Canadian fans were gripping a little bit tight. You can imagine what the Americans are feeling right now. But, yeah, that's a tough one right there with 90 seconds remaining. And we shall see what happens. By the way, too, we're off a little bit early tonight. I mentioned to you, have Butler on the road at Georgetown later on this evening. So we're off at about 5:40 this afternoon. And, yeah, I see the text line is burning up with the Tim McGraw ticket people that want him right now. I can completely understand why. You definitely would want that. So please, please, please go get it. JMV, for whatever reason, I don't understand why Purdue fans are so stinking down right now on their team. I know they lose to Michigan, but Michigan is really good. Well, they're down on it because the expectations are such. That's the way that it goes. Now, I would also argue that this tale is going to be told in March. Now, to Matt Painter and this team, there's nothing insignificant about winning a Big Ten regular season title. But to fans, it's a little bit different. What matters to you is what ultimately happens in the month of March. I think the problem more than anything else on this is what we talked about earlier. if you want to look at where Purdue has had the most significant issue in games this season, and what you saw in Michigan last night, what you saw in Illinois, most notably as well what you saw against Iowa State, athleticism and rebounding. Clough last night was non-existent other than getting fouls. That can't happen. And Braden Smith struggled against the size and defense. He still put up 20, but let's just say it was a struggle. Laurier had 11. And really nobody else outside of Trey Kaufman-Wren of note gave them much whatsoever. Problematic. All right, going to an extra here with Team USA and Sweden in the quarters of Milan and men's hockey. We'll see if we can give you a final update before the top of the hour. Bail coming up in just a second, too. Tom Crean's going to join us on the show tomorrow. We're going to get you set for IU and Purdue on Friday night at Mackey Arena in West Lafayette. Tom Crean going to join us tomorrow. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Johnny with a great idea. This Big Red Liquors. Big Red Liquors powers the JMV Takeover every Saturday night on B105.7, 6 till midnight. Also, hey, it powers a good time. Powers a good time coming up this weekend. Does it not for you, too? In terms of the great deals they have going on right now, what about the beer? Modelo 24-packs, you're going to get $5 off of that. Yuengling 24-packs, $3 off. Interesting, right? The low-calorie choices of both Modelo and Yuengling. You have Oro from Modelo, 90 calories. You have Yuengling Flight, the low-calorie alternative with Yuengling in mind. $3 off right there. And you have the standbys. Busch and the High Life 12-packs. You're going to save big on that, too. How about these options? 4 Roses small batch, $5 in savings. That's, in fact, the big find of the week. And it's all going on at Big Red Liquors as the snow has melted away. So are the prices. Big Red Liquors, 100-plus locations, state of Indiana. There is one near you, and the Red Hot deals and the Speakeasy deals you can find at BigRedLiquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Talk about your Psalms. Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
We have 3-on-3 overtime hockey with Team USA and Sweden. 3 shots on goal denied right now by Sweden. 7:20 in overtime. I don't know what the hell they do after this.
I think it is a penalty shootout.
Oh my. I'm going to tell you what. 3-on-3 overtime Olympic hockey is nerve-wracking as hell right here.
No kidding. Especially
when you're Team USA and you gave up that goal in the final 90 seconds. 3-on-3 overtime hockey. The 7:20 mark right now. And much of this has been spent in Team USA zone. But Sweden just won a face-off, and now they have possession of the puck. Actually, I'm trying really hard. I don't know a lot of what the hell I'm talking about here. So if I make sense, give me kudos. If I don't, my bad. I think right now 4-1 in shots on goal in this overtime. I don't know how much you care about this. I just... There's something a little bit more about Olympics and when you're playing for your country. And this 3-on-3 overtime thing is nerve-wracking. I guess, hell, I never see it. But, they got it. Team USA with the wrister. Hughes with the wrister and the overtime 2-1 win by the Americans. Whoa! You think I could do hockey with that call right there?
That was some excellent play-by-play.
I just made that up, too. Was that a wrister? Hell, I don't know what it was.
It was close enough.
Sometimes they're the wrister, the one-timer, the slapper, whatever.
That may have been a slapper. I don't know.
So now you have Team USA winning in overtime. You have the Canadians winning in overtime. And they would meet in the gold medal game, I believe. Slovakia is up next for Team USA, I want to say.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. So Team USA... with the 3-on-3 overtime win, as I mentioned, too, they spent a lot of time down, but the Swedish goaltender was pretty good up until that final moment right there. And Team USA, they get it done and get that win. 2-1 in overtime. And was that Jack Hughes that scored the game winner right there?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, trying to understand what we're talking about right here. That was the win. Jack Hughes with the game winner. Oh, some excitement. What'd you guys think of my call right there? Was that good?
Looks like you got a new career for you.
Got a new career in hockey call. Wow. There's one for the Americans right there for real. Well, Jack Hughes played for the New Jersey Devils, I believe, right? So I believe the guy that hit the game winner for the Canadians plays for the Maple Leafs, and the game winner for the Americans comes from NHL's New Jersey Devils. Both the Canadians earlier today and the Americans move on. My thanks to Rob Blackman, Kevin Bowen, Greg Lansing, Indiana State, Northern Iowa. Greg Lansing is back. Holman Center in Terre Haute, 7 o'clock later on tonight. Tom Crean, we talk college basketball and IU Purdue coming up on Friday. The former Hoosier coach joins us tomorrow. Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us. Great job, James. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.